Welcome to Camelot Fabrics. This is Heidi from the Whimsical Workshop, and in this video I'm going to show you how fun it is to make our stacking fabric baskets using the Sew Steady interfacing with the single fuse dot. So it's Sew Steady S is the name of the product. We're going to use it as the stabilizer inside our little fabric baskets so they actually hold their shape and stand up. This one here is the extra small cube, and this holds a nice tissue box, so it's a really fun one to use. And then we've also gone ahead and we've made the large one. This is the 9-inch cube. This is perfect. You could use these, you could make it out of baby fabrics and use it for a gift basket. You could put them in your bathroom to hold towels. I have them in my studio and they hold all kinds of spray bottles in them. But the pattern gives you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different sizes. Here's the rectangle one. And I want to show you how quick and easy these are and just how nice they work with the Sew Steady, with the fuse dots on one side. So to make this extra small, you need to cut 2 squares of Sew Steady S that is 9-inch square. You're going to need 2 squares of fabric for your lining and 2 squares of fabric for your exterior of the basket. These are like potato chips. You can't make just one. They're really easy to make, and I've always made them with like cloud-filled fleece, or I've used a thinner stabilizer so they're a little bit floppier. But I have to say, with the Sew Steady, it holds its shape beautifully, and it gives the basket some sturdiness, and that way you don't have to like put stuff in it to have it hold its shape. Step 1 is you're going to lay down the Sew Steady fuse side up, and you're going to lay your lining fabric right side up, and you're going to iron the 2 pieces together. And I love this product because it doesn't take much for the pieces to stick together. Just make sure you follow the manufacturer's instructions. Then you're going to do the same with the second piece and the second lining fabric, and then you're going to clip these 2 pieces together. And I like to clip them using Wonder Clips because pins are really hard to get through the thick material, and the clips will just hold everything in place for you. I'm just going to put that one over there and this one over here, and then we're going to go over to the sewing machine and we're going to stitch down the side, across the bottom, and up the side. Now, because we're using Sew Steady, it makes this piece thicker. So normally you would leave an opening in the lining. In this case, we're going to leave the opening in the outer basket, and I'm going to show you how to finish that. So this one's ready to sew, and then we're going to clip the outer 2 pieces, and this is directional, so I want to make sure the directional fabric is going, both pieces are going in the same direction. And this one I'm going to take over and I'm going to sew down the side across, and I'm going to leave an opening, like a 3 to 4 inch opening, go over here and stitch up. This is very thick, and this has to go through that opening. So leave yourself a generous opening in the center, but you need to be more than 2.5 inches from each corner, and I will show you why in the next step. So I'm going to take these over, I'm going to get this one sewn, and I'm going to get this one sewn, leaving the opening at the bottom. Alright, so we have this piece all stitched, including the bottom, and then this piece we have stitched, and we left an opening here at the bottom. I know it's a little harder to see, but there's the opening there. I may need to open that up a little more. We'll see once I get the corners cut. But the next thing we need to do is get rid of this weird thread. Is we're going to mark the corners. So if you follow along with our pattern, there is a chart in the pattern that tells you if the cut size was 9 inches, we're going to cut our corners 2 inches. So how I do this is I take a square ruler and I draw the square that I need to cut. So 2 inches, and it goes on both the lining corners and the outer basket corners. So those are drawn, and this is drawn. And now you see why you need to have that opening. It has to go past where we're going to cut the corner, otherwise you have nothing holding your bottom together when you go to turn the basket right side out. So there we go. So once we got those lines drawn, we're done with these. I like to use scissors to cut because I have much more control than I do with a rotary cutter. So we're just going to cut that corner out. And we're going to cut this corner out. Okay, and now we can form our box bottom. And how you do that is you take the side seam right here and the bottom seam and you align them, nesting the seams. Sometimes you gotta fuss with it a little to get everything lined up correctly. But once you have those two seams nested there, then we're gonna take a clip and we're gonna clip those two seams. And then I like to then, add a clip on each end. Like that. And like that. And then I'm going to take this over to the sewing machine and I'm just going to sew a 1/4 inch seam to close it. And that is this right here. So that's what's forming the box bottom of your piece. So we're going to repeat that on all the corners. So these two corners, and when you clip this one, I've already got this seam going this way. So make sure when you nest the seams on this side that that follows through when you clip this. And we're going to clip that. There we go. So I'm going to go sew those together. And then we have to do the same thing with this piece. And it's fine. You just want to use nice sharp scissors to cut through this. It's really easy to cut. It doesn't dull your scissors or anything. And then I like to make sure I don't go past it. So I might cut up and have a little leftover and then I just gotta pull that out. And the same thing on this side. Make sure you don't lose your square like I just did. And the beauty of this is you don't have to be super accurate. I mean, a little accuracy does help, but this is a nice beginner project. It's easy to sew. You can make lots of these and they're just so cute. I mean, you can have them in the kitchen, you can have them in the bathroom, you can have them in the pantry, or in the linen closet holding washcloths and soaps. You can use them as gift baskets. There's so much you can do with these. So again, we're just gonna line up the seam. And when you use the Sew Steady, it's thicker. And anytime you're using anything thicker, it sometimes wants to go one way or the other. So this seam wants to lay this way. So we're just gonna let it do that. That's what it wants to do. So we're gonna do the same thing here. Now my stitching came out, so I need to fix that before I sew my corner. So we'll get this other side together and then I'll fix that and pin that one off camera. So again, we're nesting the seams and we're clipping. And it's very important to clip this stuff because it is thicker and it can move on you. But definitely it is worth it to put this thicker stabilizer in your project. All right, so I'm gonna go fix this. So if you have that happen to you, your stitching just pops open, just go ahead and restitch it before you do this so you have a secure seam on the side. So I'm gonna go get these sewn and I'll be right back. Okay, so here is my lining and here is my outer basket. And again, we're doing everything a little bit backwards here. So we're gonna turn the lining right side out because it is the thicker piece. And you don't have to worry with the Sew Steady. I mean, you can be pretty rough with it to get it to where you want it. And I love the fact that I've noticed you can heat it up with the iron and you can kind of sculpt it a little bit with your fingers. I mean, it's not meant to do that, I don't believe, but it certainly does help when you want to like press in a side seam without having to sew it to form the side seam. You could just squeeze it and press it and it holds its shape, which is just so lovely about this. And so now that we've got this out, you can start to see how big our little basket's going to be. And I do like at this point to squeeze the bottom and press it, give it a nice pressing, because that does help form it and give it less of a round bottom and more of a square. So, and if you've been following along with our other blogs and our other videos, I've explored several of the other behind the seam products and I have been impressed with every single one. They are designed for the quilter, the home sewer. They're designed to be used with home irons, not big industrial ones. And you can tell by how easy each product has been to use. So again, I like to kind of fold this up and press in my seams. I'm just gonna squeeze it. Now we're gonna leave the outer basket right side in, and we're gonna slide this guy right in here. And I just sort of collapse the basket, slide it in, and I'm going to tug this all into shape. And again, we're bringing in our clips again, and we're going to align our side seams. Now, if you're going to twist a seam, it really isn't going to matter on the inside of your basket like it might in a quilt, but twist the fabric side, not the thicker seam. The thicker seam is going to make a bigger bump in your piece. So if for some reason, like I just did, I had the seams both going in the right way. Now this one worked out just fine. I'm not twisting it. See what I mean by twisting it? It's going that way here, and I'm twisting it this way. You can do a little snip in the middle if that's going to bother you, but I wouldn't pull this out. This is not going to affect the basket. So, and we're going to do the other side, and you want to make sure you clip all the way around the top edge. So we're going to go over to the sewing machine and sew all the way around this top edge, and then we're going to pull this thing through that hole in the bottom. But you really want to make sure your edges, because you have a thick material and a thin material, you do want to clip it so one doesn't get slide while you're sewing. And again, at this point, anytime you use the Sew Steady, you're going to want to be using a walking foot. So I'm going to go sew that top edge, and then we're going to be ready to turn it right side out. We've got it all sewn around the top edge, and now we got to pull this through this hole. And so we need to go carefully and slowly because the Sew Steady is much thicker. So I like to kind of squeeze the Sew Steady piece. See how I'm squeezing it? And I'm kind of wiggling it through the hole. Okay, now you can enforce that stitching at the end on either side. I highly recommend that. But you can see I'm really folding up the piece with the Sew Steady attached to it. And I'm going slow and I'm working through, and we're just going to keep working and pulling. And if you see somewhere where it's sticking, just slowly work it out. If you haven't done this before, it can be kind of stressful, and there's no need. Again, it's just fabric. We can always re-sew things. But there we go. So there's our lining, and there's our outer basket. So now we need to press that opening closed, and you can top stitch it. Let's see, one of these I did this way. Like I just top stitched it, and it's on the bottom, so you really don't see it, and it's a lot easier. But if you are someone who that might bother, you can hand whip stitch this closed. And you can see here, like my threads there, it snapped a little, some of my stitches, which is fine. We're just going to clean this area up first. And then we're going to fold in each side 1/4 inch. And you might need to get that to behave a little bit because it's heavier than the outer basket, so it's going to want to take charge. It doesn't need to. You just got to work this. Okay, and then once you have the 2/4 inch edges turned in, give it a nice press. That will help you either if you're top stitching or whip stitching it by hand. And I am going to top stitch that. Now, what this means is this basket can be reversed. You could pull this out and put that inside. So that's another thing, like if you get tired of one look, you can just flip it around and have a different look. And I'm going to top stitch this close, and I will be right back to show you the next step. Okay, and I stitched this in contrasting threads so you could see how I did it. But if it's yours, you would probably want to match your thread to the fabric. So, okay, so we can do it this way. and make that the lining. But in this case, I really would like the chevron on the outside, though this one has a chevron on the outside. So actually we're going to go ahead and just make that the lining, and that makes it even easier. It wouldn't matter at this point. You're doing the same step. Now you can leave it like this is the fabric, the lining fabric just sort of rolled over the edge, but you can also just push this in, and that's a thick seam because it's the Sew Steady and the fabric. I'm gonna push this out of the way so you can see what I'm doing. I'm literally just pulling it so the seam is on the edge, and I'm ironing it. Okay, and that, if you do that all the way around, then you can top stitch it and flip it right side out. Now this one, I did not top stitch, I left it rolled. So now that you've seen what it is, we're just gonna flip this down to show you. So what I do is I use my thumbs and I fold it under. And what you want is you want this whole edge to be even. If you just do 1.25 inches here, you want this side to also be 1.25 inches. If you want it wider, you can do it wider. This one's even wider still. So you can decide how wide you want to do your baskets. So because those are wider, we're gonna do this one a little bit narrower. So I'm gonna make this one, I think, 2 inches. I think that will look nice. And so you can fold it like this. I mean, it's so forgiving, the Sew Steady, but you can just fold it like that to make sure that it's even from end to end. Okay, and actually that's kind of cute. I just made it, made like a funky shape out of it. But we want to make it a cube. So what we'll do is we're going to go ahead and just finger press each side. So there we go. We've got our 5-inch, our 6-inch, and our 9-inch stacking fabric baskets following this pattern from the Whimsical Workshop. We'll put a link to the pattern below. But I hope you've enjoyed this quick video on how to make these. I hope you've learned a little bit about the behind the scenes Sew Steady product. Again, I use the single side fuse web for this. We do have a fabric jewelry project coming up where I'm using the double side Sew Steady product. So stay tuned for that. That one will be a blog. Please leave me a comment below. Let me know if you're enjoying these tutorials about learning how to work with the different products in the behind the scenes product line from Camelot Fabrics. I'm having so much fun exploring and making these, and I hope you are enjoying them as well. So until next time, happy sewing!